Hi again, everybody. Doug Miles and Don Henderson tonight, coming to you from Ed Smith Stadium on Friday, March 24th, as we do a night game. Don, the Baltimore Orioles taking on the New York Yankees.
I'll tell you, it should be a great night. Standing room only, which is a great sign for the city of Sarasota. They've struggled with some of the exhibition games this year, attendance-wise, so this is very positive. Standing room only tonight. As you can see, the parking lot since we came in were already half filled, so it should be a great night of baseball.
Anytime the Yankees come in, even though it's a split squad tonight, you still want to see the pinstripes, right? Even though you're going to see a lot of the rookies and maybe guys that won't make the main team, but it's still fun to see the Yankees.
Yeah, it'll be great to see the Yankees, and it'll be great to, just be a part of the last. We only have two more games. Phillies, of course, will be here on Sunday. Have a chance to see them. And then one game after that, the St. Louis Cardinals. And then, can you believe it? The spring training season is over.
Even though records don't really mean anything in spring training, the teams like to, obviously you want to win games you're in. The Orioles come in at 13 and 12 tonight. The Yankees with a record of 10 up and 15 down. Really meaningless, but people kind of want to know how their team's doing.
Well, I'll tell you, it's been sort of an up and down, and we talked about it coming over. Boxleiter, who does the PA here at the Ed Smith Stadium, lives in the same building I do. We had a chance to chat this afternoon, and he said a home run in the ninth inning tied the game up last night. And so once games are tied in the ninth inning, that's it. They fall off.
Call it a tie.
It's all over.
Right. They don't want to do too much extra work before the season starts.
You bet that right.
Well, baseball classic though this week, Don. Got a lot of press, a lot of good attendance when they played in Miami, and apparently pretty good game. Japan and the USA.
37,000. We talked to Bill Matthews, who was the official scorer for 3 of those games. Bill does a show with us on Wednesday night. Very, very nice guy. And of course, he's the official scorekeeper at the Trop. It has been almost since the beginning of the Trop. And he talked about 37,000 there for, so many more than are there for the Miami baseball team to play. Big turnout.
I know we were talking last time we did our show, the unfortunate injury to the Mets' Edwin Diaz in the World Baseball Classic, but other than that, I guess fans really enjoyed watching these games. You kind of wonder why they don't do it at the end of it.
Well, they're going to take a couple of years off now before they do it again. The Astros, of course, lost one of their star players, broken thumb. So he's going to be out for at least 6 to 8 weeks. And as you mentioned, Diaz, unbelievably, in a celebration after the last out of the game, and celebrating on the mound, he twisted his knee, and he's going to be out for the whole season. Just unbelievable.
Yeah. Tough break there, but fans enjoyed it. I know last time we also mentioned when we did our tribute to the Rays announcer Dave Wills, who passed away, we were talking about who would replace him. They did announce that the man who does the pre- and post-game show, Neil Solon, has been now promoted to be the second announcer of AB3. So we just want to clear that up. Last week we weren't sure who was going to do that.
They stepped him right up, which was great. He was working in the organization, working for the broadcast team prior to the death. So it was great to see an internal rise in a player or a broadcaster that was in the organization step right up and move in.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he had done play-by-play anywhere before. He's done the pre- and post-game for the last several years.
Yeah, I do not know about that.
Right. So I wanted to clear that up. We also want to kind of spend a few minutes in tribute to really one of the great basketball players. I grew up, it was the first team I kind of watched in New York as far as basketball goes, the New York Knicks. The great Willis Reed passed away.
Yeah, I did on Tuesday, and the interesting part was tremendous tributes in all the papers, especially in the New York Post. Clyde Frazier had who was one of his best personal friends, who had his greatest game in his whole basketball career in that 7th game.
In that game 7, right? 1970.
Yeah, against the Lakers, and but they won unexpectedly with Willis coming out just to get the first 2 baskets with that deep thigh injury, but he was just a tribute to basketball, to the NBA, and certainly to the New York Knicks. He was a great basketball player, but as Clyde said, he was a better person.
Captain. He was the captain for pretty much his whole career with New York. And he really went through the tough years with the Knicks. He came in, I think, in '64, and they were not a great team for several years until they built that dynasty team in the late '60s and into the early '70s.
Yeah, and he won in '70, and then he won in '72, 73, and but he was just revered in the city of New York. Tremendous personality, and was with a number of other clubs in an associate role. Did coach a little bit.
He coached, that was the GM of the Nets for a while.
Yeah, and but coaching really wasn't his thing.
No.
So, but terrific player himself, and a terrific credit to the NBA.
And really, when you look back at him, kind of a small, big man. I mean, he was 6'9", a tall man, but not huge for a center, particularly today.
And he separated in, and of course the game we're talking about in 1970, when he was there, Wilt Chamberlain was the center on the other side. And when they saw Wilt, they said in all the articles in the Post this week, when Elsie Baylor and Jerry West and Wilt Chamberlain saw Willis Reed come out of the dressing room because they didn't think he was going to make an appearance. And like I said, when he looked over at those three players and saw that Willis was out there, he said, we knew we were going to win the game.
Game was over right there.
The game was over.
And then Willis hit the two jumpers.
That's what he
said. First minute and a half or
First
so.
2 points, the first 4 points of the game, 2 baskets, and never played again after that. But Clyde took over. I think he scored 39 in that game.
Maybe 15, 16 assists, a bunch of rebounds as well, Clyde had.
It was great. Most of his credit is being his greatest game in the NBA.
What made it unusual, and you look back at it now, just kind of reading the history of it, I kind of knew because I remembered, but that game was actually blacked out in New York. You could not watch it on TV. Most people listened to that game on radio, where Marv Albert did it. But that game was not shown until later that night on tape.
That I did not know.
Which is hard to believe, even in 1970.
I was fortunate because it was shown around the country. And I lived, as you know, I lived midway between New York and Philadelphia. So when Philadelphia was blocked out, I'd see it on the New York channel.
Right.
And when New York was blocked out, I'd see it on the Philly channel. So we had the best of both worlds because we had 12, 13 channels from day one, whereas most people in New York had 5 or 6. And so if it was blocked out, you just didn't get the game.
Yeah, ABC at that time had the basketball on TV, but they had those crazy blackout rules, and the game was sold out. I mean, it wasn't like, but they just didn't do anything about it for a few years later. Henderson, most people in New York did not see that game.
The league
they heard until later that night.
Yeah, the league rule. They couldn't televise the game, home game.
But anyway, we want to remember the great Willis Reed, 80 years old. Apparently he had not been in great health for a while. They said he was in the hospital for a while. So God bless him and great memory.
Clyde said that he didn't even realize he was that serious. He knew because they had the anniversary, 50-year anniversary.
73 team, not too long ago, right?
And of course he couldn't come. He gave a video presentation at that commemoration of the game, but he couldn't come. So he had known at that time that he had seen him. He talked to him. He knew he was under the weather, but he said he didn't know it was as serious as what occurred.
I saw a nice interview with Bill Bradley on Dan Patrick's show the other day, kind of reminiscing about Willis. I mean, he said Willis was a guy in charge all the way. I mean, he was kind of a natural-born cat.
Yeah, Bill Bradley came in, and he had a big article in the Post as well. Same thing. Talked about the leadership qualities of Willis and how he took people aside. I Frazier said when he first came in, he took him out, and put him told him what he had to do and what he couldn't do. And he said he really was a mentor from day one. That he got to pick him up at the airport, brought him in after he signed the contract, took him out to dinner with friends at Wilt Chamberlain's nightclub.
Oh, really?
Wilt had a nightclub for people who don't know. In those days, he had a nightclub in New York, and so they went to his nightclub.
Yeah, Wilt always lived in New York until, of course, he went to the Lakers. But when he played for Philly, he lived in New York, didn't he?
Commuted infrequently.
Yeah.
He was there for the games, but not much more.
Not much else.
No.
That's a whole nother show on the stories about Wilt. We'll have to do something on Wilt sometime. But, anyway, that'll kind of wrap it up for this edition. Again, a Friday edition from the ballpark here in Sarasota. Don, look forward to a good game tonight.
Yeah, I'll tell you, the games have been, and again, I'll go back to what you and I talked about in several of the other shows. I think the clock has been tremendous. I mean, the other day,
up the game quite a bit.
Again, an hour and 40 minutes the other day, 6.5 innings. I mean, in talking to Bill Matthews, who's the official score that we talked about at the top of the show, he said he thinks, and he's in on all the umpire meetings and team meetings, there's going to be a slight modification on the 15 and 20-second clock.
Oh, really?
He's not sure, but he thinks just before the season they may extend to 15, 18, or whatever, whether they're going to extend the 2 minutes between innings or so. But he thinks they are going to tweak it a little bit.
We'll do something just to keep the game, the pace a little bit faster. That's what they want.
Terrific.
But anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you again next time.